Hi everyone, it is April. Today we are going to be chatting about the 10 worst books that I read in 2020. Really didn't like them. Let's dive in. So we're going from like pretty bad, like didn't like them, to the worst. It will get progressively more grumpy. I'm gonna need a pick-me-up after we're finished because I'm gonna do a lot of complaining in this video. So prepare yourself. Hope you have like something to cheer you up afterwards. Chocolate bar. Chocolate is always good. You know yourself. Go and do that after this. So, number 10. The 10th worst book that I read in 2020 is The Darkest Evening. This is part of the Vera series. I think it's the 9th book in, and I thought, this is perfect. I'm going to read this and then I'll have a whole series to read. No, I will not. This will be the only Vera book that I read, unfortunately. So this follows Vera, who is our detective, and she is driving in the middle of a snowstorm. She sees a car off of the road and goes to inspect because the driver door is open. The driver is nowhere to be found, but there is a toddler in the back. Obviously, she takes the toddler. She is going to a home that is related to her childhood, and she knows the people there. So she goes to this home, and on the grounds, there is a woman found dead, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. I found this incredibly boring. I felt like there were too many perspectives in here, and Vera kept calling everybody pet. Now, many of you have mentioned to me that I guess there's an area in England, like northern England, where calling people pet is not condescending. It's like a term of endearment. I guess like saying dear or something like that. I say dear a lot. So, anyway, I just found I didn't like her. She didn't seem invested in the crime. She didn't seem to care, and I'm used to Frida Klein, okay? So she cares, and Vera didn't care enough. So I didn't like it. See, I'm already angry. We just started. Number 9 is Darling Rose Gold. Darling Rose Gold is a thriller that I was very much anticipating, and this is about a young girl who was essentially abused by her mother her whole life. Her mother was causing her to be sick. She kept telling her daughter that she was incredibly ill, that everything would make her ill. And she had this really crappy childhood full of doctor's appointments and being unable to do anything. And then she realized later in life that her mother was lying the entire time. Her mother goes to jail for what she did, for being a terrible mother. But she is released, and our main character goes to the prison to pick up her mother. Her mother's gonna like move in with her, but she suggests to her mom that she forgives her, that all is well, but she actually wants to exact revenge. I just didn't buy it the whole way through. Again, I was bored. I read this much earlier in the year, so I'm a little fuzzy on it, but I did not enjoy the story. I was expecting so much more grit, and it was just, yeah, it was just okay. It was an okay book, but really not, like, I'm not going to read the author again. Unfortunately, it just really didn't work for me. Number 8 is a really controversial one. Prepare yourself. It's In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I think I was so disappointed by this book because this is the true crime book that all other true crime books try to mirror. The writing was fine, but I didn't care what happened. So this follows a case in which The Clutter family are all found murdered. They've been shot very close range, all of them. There's like a father and a mother and like several children, all dead. And Truman Capote goes to this town and interviews all sorts of people about the Clutter family and why someone would want to kill them. And then he also interviews the two men that actually killed the Clutter family and their lives. And I think that's where I really struggled. I really didn't care about these two men, and so much of the focus was on these two men. And I don't know if maybe at that time that wasn't done in true crime, but I didn't want to focus on them. I wanted to focus on the Clutter family. And I just didn't end up really caring about this case, and that makes me feel sad because these are real people who really died. And also, why is this like the ultimate true crime book? I don't actually know. Coming in at number 7, oh my gosh, might be the most disappointing read of the year. It's Survivor's Song by Paul Tremblay. This is about a terrible disease that is going through the US that makes people lose their minds and bite people, zombies. It's basically his zombie story. And we follow a pregnant woman who is bitten and reaches out to her doctor, who's also her friend, I think, and asks her to come pick her up and somehow get her to safety, to like try to save her, at least save her baby. I ended up not really caring about any of the characters. I wasn't scared at all. First, it's horror. I was not scared in any way, shape, or form. So there's that. And then it seemed like the pregnant woman wasn't in any way worried about her baby. There's a lot of jokiness between these two women. Maybe in that situation, some people would make a lot of jokes. I feel like it would be my worst nightmare, and I don't know if I would be able to make any jokes whatsoever. They don't know whether the baby will contract this zombie disease or not, and she didn't seem to care, and I really didn't end up caring about her. That was a pass for me. Oh God. Coming in at number 6 is Little Darlings. This is another like motherhood book. Little Darlings is about a woman who brings twins home from the hospital, and she deals with postpartum depression in a major way. She's really struggling. And one day she goes for a walk out to the park and her babies go missing, and they are found again, but she looks down at the carriage and realizes they are not her children. And she thinks there's this woman stalking her. I just thought this was poorly written. I didn't find it... I found her extremely annoying. I found her relationship with her husband extremely annoying. Her husband did nothing at all, and she didn't divorce him. I know it's unrealistic to divorce someone after you've just had a child, but I lost respect for her. And so as a result, everything that happened to her, I'm like, well, you're not helping yourself, are you? I got very judgmental. I didn't like her. Found it frustrating. Oh my gosh, I was so tense. I need something good after this. Oh God, okay. Coming in at number 5 is another very controversial one. It's The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Oh no, I know so many of you are going to be upset, and there are more controversial ones to come. So I don't like Kristen Hanna's writing. She's not for me. I find the writing itself bad. I don't like her writing, but so many people do. So if you love Kristen Hanna's writing, my goodness, like no judgment whatsoever from me. It doesn't work for me. This follows a family who moved to Alaska in the 1970s. The father is abusive, majorly abusive, physically, emotionally. he needs mental help. But instead of getting mental help, he ends up dragging his family to Alaska to live off of the land and off of the grid. And they have to survive the winter. Now, I will say it was atmospheric, and that was like its saving grace for me. I was able to finish it because it was atmospheric, but I found so much of the stuff predictable, and I got very frustrated with the characters. I felt like our main character, who is a girl, I appreciated her at the beginning of the story, and then I felt like her entire character changed to be in not a good way as we went on. She went from being a child, very intelligent in how to deal with her father, to being a teenager, completely ridiculously stupid with how to deal with her father. And I just feel like that doesn't make sense. As you grow, you would learn better ways to deal with this man, better survival techniques. And she regressed, and that made no sense to me. I just really struggled. There's also a love story in here that, you know how I feel about love stories. When it's not on the back of the book and then there's a love story, I usually get mad. So I got mad and didn't like it. Number 4 is another unbelievably controversial book, opinion, I should say. This is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, I think. I despised this book, guys. This follows a girl who lives off of the land. Her whole family essentially abandons her. She also has a rather abusive father. So her family abandons her, and you follow her as she's growing up, and then you follow a murder that happens. There is a murder of a very popular young man in this small town. He's murdered, found on the marshlands where the marsh girl lives, who is our main character. And everyone thinks that she killed him. And you follow her story. It's funny though, because at the beginning, I really liked it. I liked her at the beginning. And as it went on, it just became a love story. There was a love triangle all the way through it. I was bored out of my mind. I was so bored. I ended up really not liking her. I didn't like any of the characters except for like a father figure in the area. That was, I could not care less. I will not read anything more from Delia Owens. I'm so frustrated too, because everyone was touting this book as like a debut. Delia Owens has written like tons of nature books. This just happened to be her first fiction book, but everyone's acting like she's never written before. And everyone is so impressed by her like nature writing, and I get that, but it's because she's a nature writer. Didn't like it. Next up is Codename Lise. This was one of my book club picks for Patreon, and I'm so sorry, guys, that I even put this in there. We were choosing between The Spy and the Traitor and Codename Lise. The theme for that month, for November, was spies. And people ended up choosing Codename Lise, and it was horrible. It was really bad, okay? This follows an English woman who was raised French, and she ends up being recruited to become a spy. It's nonfiction. Recruited to become a spy because she's French. And she meets someone and falls in love, and it's about their love story in the midst of becoming a spy. And she was like the most decorated spy in English history. So that's pretty impressive. And there proceeded to be like nothing about her experience becoming a spy, like the training. I still don't know anything about her training. Really nothing about most of her experiences as a spy. And it so clung to this love story that it just it missed the mark in a major way. In a major way. I didn't like it. I didn't end up feeling like I knew our main character, our main protagonist. Odette is her actual name, I think, and I don't feel like I know her at all. And I feel like it did her a disservice because she actually lived and she actually was this kick-ass woman who, you know, had such sacrifice for her country, and no idea who she is still. Oh boy. Okay. In the number 2 spot, this is the second worst book I read in 2020. This is The Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate. So in this book, we follow a woman in present day who moves to this small southern town to teach high school. And when she's there, she asks the kids to look into their history and their family history. And you dive into the story of a family who lived on the grounds that she's like renting a house from. And you delve into the people that this man enslaved. And I thought this was kind of a classic. If you are a white person writing a book about slavery, don't do any of this. There are moments where our main character is walking through this plantation, former plantation, and she's talking about how peaceful it was. Nope. There's a lot of reference to the man who who enslaved people as being somewhat of a good guy. Nope. Like, so many don't do this moments for me. I did not like it at all. It kind of enraged me. Yeah. So don't read that. I don't recommend reading that. Okay. And the worst book that I read in 2020, and you guys will know, so many of you guys are gonna know what it is. It's one to watch. Oh my gosh, this is a romance book, but I'm okay when I know it's romance and I'm going into it. That's fine. Like, I can handle it. I know what I'm going into. It's not coming out of left field. It's okay. So One to Watch is basically meant to be like The Bachelorette. I watched The Bachelorette. I watched the whole franchise, The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise. I'm there Monday or Tuesday night watching them all. Now, I picked up this book because I think it was at the beginning of the pandemic, and like everything was canceled. So I was like, we're never ever going to watch The Bachelorette again. I don't know what I'm going to do in the interim. And so I picked this book up because I was like, that'll work. And this is about a plus size blogger who is watching like their version of The Bachelorette, and she is incredibly enraged because there's no one on the program that represents plus size women. And she's like, you should work on that. And the producer reaches out to her and she's like, we want you to be essentially the next Bachelorette. And she agrees. She's like, I'm going to do this for the women who look like me and need to see people who look like them on a show like this. I'm not really looking for love. In fact, I'm very much hung up on this other guy that I like randomly had sex with and have been pining after for many years. But I'm doing this for the plus size women. And she proceeds to not do it for the plus size women. This is the worst representation of plus size women that I've ever read. She knows, our character knows that she's going in this for a marketing purpose. Also not out of left field. Like, how many people go on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette and do that? I understand. It's a show. You're marketing yourself. Get it. She knows that going in, and then she proceeds to tell every single man who is like vying for her love that, oh my gosh, everyone thinks I'm disgusting, and proceeds to just trash talk herself. And the men have to like, you know, encourage her or whatever. Some of the men are jerks and, you know, just prove themselves to be jerks. But she also proves herself to be a jerk. Like, what were you doing? You just made every plus size woman watching your show feel like crap about themselves. What happened to body positivity? Also, if you have a blog where the whole purpose of the blog is that you're a plus size blogger, plus size fashion blogger, you are going into that blog knowing and focusing on positive body positivity. And she just proved that she proved that she couldn't do that and wasn't about that. And it made me feel like the author had no idea how to write a character. I hated that. I just swore. I hate that book. I think I ended up donating it to Value Village, but I wanted to burn it. I wanted to burn it forever. I am a plus size woman. I don't always have body positivity, for sure. I understand that plus size women, some are going to have major confidence. Some are not, just like regular human beings. But if I had a blog about being a plus size woman and fashion, I'm pretty sure I'd have a lot of body positivity. If I went into this situation, I'm pretty sure that I'd follow fucking through. And I just, no, I don't like it. A lot of people, when I did a wrap up where I had read One to Watch, a lot of people were like, no, I think it was really realistic. No, I just can't. There are certain things I just can't stand for. And this was fat shaming to the max. It was disgusting. And that's it. That's the worst book that I read. I'm going to go and eat chocolate and love my plus size self now, because I need something to pick me up. Anywho, let me know in the comments below what the worst book you've read in 2020 was. I would love to know. Hope I didn't get you into a really bad mood. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.